Okay, it's the eve of UFC 316 with the main event being Merab taking on Sean O'Malley for the bantamweight championship. And the rematch, the roles are swapped. Merab is the champion, O'Malley is the challenger. And the way that I see this one going, I think O'Malley's going to take it, but only if he does what I'm about to lay out here. O'Malley has the reach and height advantage and the striking advantage. He's got the power. He's the one who's going for the finishes and knockdowns and knockouts and things like that. But there's more than one way to win, and Merab has found a different tactic. So, in lacking in the firepower when compared like 1-to-1, he's gone to a different strategy. And I think it's not an exact 1-to-1 comparison, but if you know what a Fabian strategy is, I think that's what he's using an MMA version of that. And what that does is uses time and your opponent's limited amount of resources as your weapons. And so to win these things, Merab, I think everybody would agree that if they exchanged in a firefight, like a striking competition, O'Malley would eventually find the mark and get the win. So Merab his team is smart, and so they avoid that. They bide their time. They're patient. They pick and choose when they go in, and they look to only attack when they're in an advantageous position. So where they're at in the cage, and then they, for Merab, I mean, he's more interested in just controlling somebody, landing whatever shots he can do, as opposed to going for the finish. He just wins positionally. And it's a good strategy. It's worked out for him. He's been able to do it to everybody. But so now we get to how do we counter that, or how would you counter that style? It is to just simply force that firefight. And you do that by controlling the space. O'Malley's idea of being like a counter fighter, or thinking that he's going to feint Merab without first establishing like a real threat, it just didn't work. It's not going to work. So that's the thing. You got to control the space, and you can do that by winning long-range battles. And only doing so when you're in a neutral or advantageous position. So what I mean by that is, just not being up against the cage. When you're in the center of the ring, you need to attack. So you don't need to waste your opportunities. When you're in those positions, you have to attack from it. So he needs to be more aggressive. Don't wait for the counter shots, or don't waste time doing all this feinting and stuff, thinking that you're going to draw Merab in with a counter or draw out his counter. He showed that he's too patient. He's not falling for that. So you just need to attack him directly. And so long range weapons, you need like just a jab is a good idea, or the front kicks that worked in the 5th round of the first fight. Some more of that, and then once you've established that, which he has the reach and height advantage, so he should be able to do that. Those things, again, those are straight line attacks that can discourage or help prevent takedowns. The front kick, even if you catch a front kick, your leg is still in between you and your opponent, as opposed to a round kick, which is kind of like the start of a double leg or something like that. And then the jab, again, is kind of just like an active long guard. You pump that jab out, and it stays in between you, and it will manage the distance for you. And having the reach advantage, he should be able to land without Merab doing anything. So then you force Merab's hand. He doesn't get to be as patient as he'd like to with the setups and things like that. So then when he starts rushing, you can switch to, then you can start, hopefully his entries are not going to be as confusing as he, has to rush himself. And then you can maybe look for the counters, like the pull cross kind of thing. But when you do force his activity, force him to make a mistake or be hasty in his entries, you don't just retreat from it and allow him to get away with that. You have to punish that. So O'Malley needs to stand his ground a little bit more. Again, only when you're in a position to retreat as like the last thing you do, but it shouldn't be the first thing. You need to go ahead and you got to take that ground first with your long range combat. And then when he tries to rush in, you need to punish that, and then retreat should be like the last resort. And you've already prepped that by taking space in the cage. And then from there, when you want to go for the kill, you just build off that, and then you just have to switch the tactics up, or you can't be predictable. But once you establish that long range threat, now you can more effectively switch to adding your feints and things like that to set up that the feints will buy you time to throw the heavier shots or to have the longer combos and look for the knockout. But I think hopefully, if that makes any sense, I think that's how O'Malley is going to win. He needs to be more aggressive, quit trying to be so much of a counter fighter, and then don't try and feint somebody until you. The first rule of feinting is you have to establish a threat. So get in there. I mean, if you watch the first fight, he has success when he starts with a jab. And then he starts throwing a jab cross, then he gets predictable with his jab cross and he gets takedown. So you got to switch it up. But also, as far as the takedown defense, I mean, I would watch. I'm sure they studied, but Aldo, the way he was able to defend, and some of the ways that JDM had he prepared movements after his strikes or after at the end of his combos, like that would put him in position to defend a takedown. Also, some of the ways that JDM was able to get up and escape from some of the takedown positions. But also, I mean, Merab, I mean, he throws heat. But he's not like a submission expert or anything like that. So you gotta, I mean, even if you gotta take some, you gotta go. The idea of waiting and letting him knee your thighs until you can't move around anymore or anything like that, that's just, that's gotta be out of O'Malley's head. And then if I was Merab, the way that you could, I mean, he pretty much just needs to do the same thing. He could just add a little wrinkle of, instead of using his punches, he uses his punches to a takedown, like it says battery siege. Whatever. So he uses like an overhand right or some kind of punch or something like that to get O'Malley's guard up, and then he shoots underneath that. But against Umar, he was doing it kind of in reverse, and I think he could do that if he wants to really switch it up or really add layers to it. He could fake the takedown to set up the punches to set up the takedown, and then he could have success against O'Malley that way too. But I think O'Malley, I'm calling O'Malley to get a first or second round knockout this time by left hook or a right knee. Okay, well, that's it. That's a quick little breakdown of how I think it's going to go down or how it should go down. You never can tell. I'll be back with a recap for the I Told You So episode, or I'll delete this. But on the rest of the cards, okay, too, there's the Harrison Panna title fight. And then some other, I mean, there's the main card's pretty good, and there's some stuff on the other card too. So let me know what you think, I guess, in the comments if you like, or enjoy the fights. And thanks for listening.